Hello walkers, and welcome back to Livingston, Montana. Today we are going to walk a little trail, but I want to show you one of the cautions we have here. I'm not too worried about it today, but later in the year we have to be aware of rattlesnakes here. And I will get back to that in just a moment. My name is Henry. I will be your proxy walker as I take you along this kind of nature trail here, which I'm going to talk about in a moment. Your virtual travel guide as we do this treadmill trail, virtual treadmill trail. This is the Bozeman Trail connector, and it starts over here at our little Pro-Am baseball field, the Livingston Braves. I didn't name them, sorry. And it's called the Bozeman Trail connector. It doesn't really connect anything, but it is a nice little walk along Fleshman Creek, which, as you may remember, goes all the way down to the Yellowstone River by Sacagawea Park. We've seen that a number of times in different places. But it's a great little wetland here. The rattlesnake situation, not worried about today. It's 50 degrees, about 10 a.m., 50 degrees Fahrenheit, I think it's 10 degrees Celsius. And obviously reptiles are not likely to be out yet. But this is kind of rattlesnake country. We have the only venomous snake in Montana I believe, is the prairie rattler. And as rattlesnakes go, it is purportedly the least aggressive and the least venomous. I have nearly stepped on several. Anders, our oldest, nearly stepped on one outside of Billings. And they're pretty forgiving. They'd much rather get out of your way. But if you do step on them, then you could receive a bite. Dogs will sometimes get bitten when they are harassing them and get them cornered. Dogs not knowing any better. And what else? Yeah, that's kind of it. They can do an inoculation for the rattlesnakes, which the vets will sell. We've never gotten it. I think it's an annual thing, and honestly, our dogs have never really been ones to harass wildlife. Sorry, just checking a little technical thing on my audio recorder, which I am always making an error with. The other thing I'm going to do, if I can find it, is make sure this lens is clean. So just a pause. The Bozeman Trail, named after John Bozeman, goes up and over Bozeman Pass and was often referred to as the Bloody Bozeman. And really, as I've learned over the last year, as part of our Traveling Mel State Parks weekend that we did a video on, we didn't actually have that many groups go through. They did get attacked a couple times by native peoples and who were tired of all the settlers coming and disrupting their hunting grounds, their livelihoods. That said, this trail doesn't really connect anything. A couple days ago, I did a walk through the Gallatin County Regional Park, and one of the things I commented on was the bike paths and how well Bozeman has done having bike paths and making I think those are the northwest side neighborhoods more bike friendly, more pedestrian friendly. They're still sprawly and spread out, but they have bike paths, they have pedestrian paths, they have a big dog park. And they are actually doing a lot of high density housing, which is nice. Over here in Livingston, we are also growing because we are a little bit cheaper than Bozeman. And we there are groups working to ensure that we have walkable and bikeable communities, trying to get bike lanes put in and develop new trails and that sort of thing. So that's my kudos to them. We haven't quite, we're still in kind of the small town mindset of plenty of space, not a lot of people, slow growth, and we're sort of, I think, as a community, waking up to the realization that that might not be ideal. You can see this is a Northern Lights community over here, because the streets are named after stars, and it was called Northern Lights. Anyway, that's a fairly old development, but they've been expanding over the last few years. And you can see some of these houses are obviously newer, most of which are single-family dwellings, a couple duplexes. And people want their 1,500 square foot, 2,000 square foot home and a yard, which is fine for now. There is a huge housing issue here in Montana and much of the West because so many people are getting those massive home sales from the coast where prices are incredible, and they can come out here and $700,000 seems like a bargain. I'm just going to pan around so you guys can see the view behind us. That's Livingston Peak and the Absarokas. Absolutely gorgeous day out. Oh man, so excited about it. They're doing some road construction, and I drove all the way around, and because you have to go all the way around across the train tracks and back here, and realized I forgot the SD card, so I had to go all the way back. I was hoping to be out here about an hour earlier, but we made it. You can see a lot of, off to our left here, sagebrush, as well as grass. And then you get into these rolling foothills. And off to the right you have, I don't think that is willow, I think that's laurel. That's not right, that can't be right. I'm getting that wrong. Don't listen to me on that. But you can see the stream here with a lot of willow in the base. And I can hear the water running. And one of the nice things about this being undeveloped corridor, all that willow, all that growth in there slows the water down during runoff, which means less likely to be flooded, less likely to cause erosion, anchors the bank, keeps the water cool because it keeps it in the shade in the summer. And having this as green space, and I'm not sure how much of it is actual dedicated green space, is really a benefit to the rest of the town. Even with that, every year there are flooding issues, minor flooding issues in town where Fleshman Creek goes underground through sewers and then boils out and over. I say minor, it's not probably that minor if your house is the one getting flooded. But it's not feet deep, it's inches. I'm a little surprised that beavers haven't made their way up here. There are some at the lower end. And there's certainly plenty of willow and food stuff for them, and plenty of banks to build their lodges in. I would love to see those come out here. I read an article years ago in High Country News about how the extirpation of the American beaver fundamentally altered the landscape, in the sense that it made everything much drier because none of that water that had been impounded by beaver dams was being impounded anymore. And all the plant growth around it, the willows, the trees, etc., As the creeks dried up and dried out, the those lakes, those beaver ponds, the surrounding soils dried up and couldn't support the same amount of growth. I find that fascinating. I got my first Patreon supporter the other day, and thanks, Tom. I can't thank you enough. I feel a little strange doing that. I don't know why, but I appreciate it. And if you feel like, I only have one tier, I wanted to keep it simple. If you feel like supporting this channel, great, I appreciate it. If you don't, that's fine too. You can always support it by sharing with your friends or subscribing or clicking that like and leaving a comment. Love getting your comments. I also love this open grassland leading up to the mountains. Absolutely beautiful. I do worry a little bit what it's going to look like in 10 or 15 years when everybody gets their acre of land and their little ranchlet out here, but not a whole lot I can do about that. Private property being what it is. Again, you can see this little valley, this little creek area widening, still full of that willow. It's interesting how abrupt the change is. You know, there's no willow really up high, not enough water. This dirt road over here is Fleshman Creek Road. We're going to walk back along that. And then around the old cemetery along that road. It's a great little road to ride bikes on, especially when it's not high traffic time. Everything, high traffic being relative, of course. Livingston, Montana doesn't really have traffic jams, but there are times when there are more cars than others. We're going to come up here and there's going to be, I think, an open pond where we can see some waterfowl maybe and some red-winged blackbirds. I can hear them calling. Love their little call. They're such a joy to see when they come back every spring. I keep looking back behind me, and it's super cool to see these mountains jutting up. And it's one of the things about coming to visit in Montana. Around every corner there's some new beautiful landscape to see. You go back east, and it's beautiful back there too, but there's so many trees that it's hard to get these big, wide open vistas. I think forgot to call out the perambulation pontification, which was sort of the beavers and the open space, bike paths, that stuff. I like to try and do some social good beyond just filming these walks, which are fun. I enjoy that. I enjoy hearing back from you guys. So that's good, but I like to make it more than just about walking, you know. You can see the willows starting to leaf out a little bit in places. Still got a couple weeks before these guys really get going. You can hear those blackbirds too. I think that'll focus on there maybe, I don't know. It is, I didn't say the date, it's mid-May, and in fact, today is a very busy day for me because we are prepping to go on the Smith River tomorrow. We're going to be gone for 4 days. This may come out once we've gotten back, so I'm not sure it's going to do any good to say I am going to respond to your comments, but it's worth mentioning anyway. Keep an eye out for a Smith River video on our other channels. You can see one from on Traveling Mail from 2 years ago when we kind of got rained and snowed out. I had to quit early. But still a nice adventure. I don't know if you can hear the water flowing. I can. This is a great place to come with kids, especially later in the spring, before the mosquitoes arrive. You'll hear frogs sometimes and can find some pollywogs in the water. I don't know if you see these fence posts, but I'll make sure you do. I think these might be the property line of the trail, which means or implies that the rest of that land is potentially open for development. Here, meadowlark too, I believe. Maybe it's a robin. Oh, and off in the distance to the right, you can see the Crazy Mountains. And they are off on their own kind of, so they're deceptively, they look smaller than they really are. Once you see them with, for instance, if you're looking north through the valley, here's this wetland area. Love it. If you see them with some other mountains in the foreground, you get a sense of how big they really are. Got a couple Canada geese, a bunch of red-winged blackbirds, another little bird down there I can't really identify. Maybe they're female blackbirds. I know I don't want to harass you. Leave you be. Sorry, guys. I like the wide angle. There's a grackle. I like the wide angle of the GoPro, but one of the things, the limitations of that is that you can't zoom in, and sometimes you can't see the details that the human eye can see. Those vibrant red wings. Absolutely fantastic. And they've got a little bit of yellow on the ends of the red spots too. I have a feeling these geese are going to keep flying out ahead of me and pretending like I'm chasing them. I've mentioned this in past years in walks around this area, but it's nice and wet here. We got a beautiful day. It's been fairly rainy and snowy. That'll continue usually through June. And then about July 4th-ish, the spigot just turns off. And it's about all we'll get after that are thunderstorms. Maybe 1 or 2 days, but not a lot of water comes down in July and August and September. Which means all that snow you see in the mountains, that's our reservoir. So everybody looks at all spring at the snowpack and how much snow we have in those mountains, because it's going to make a difference on the fire season, forest fires out here, grass fires, as well as fishing season, as well as floating season. couple years ago, they had a disease in the trout called a had something to do with their kidneys, or it sounded like it did. It killed a bunch of trout and whitefish, and they shut down fishing, which is a big business here. A lot of people make their living doing that, either directly in terms of guiding or indirectly in terms of restaurants and for serving fishermen and supplies like Dam Bailey Fish Shop, River's Edge, hatch finders, not the River's Edge, that's over in Bozeman, hatch finders and George Anderson, etc. So, and I guess my point was that they were saying that because it had been so warm and dry, the water warmed up and allowed that disease, it weakened the fish to the point that the disease was able to spread more easily. And trout are a cold water species, and they need cold, snow melty water to survive and thrive. Here's another little wetland area. Got a couple geese down there. Sometimes we'll see ducks down here. Beautiful view though. Alright. Don't see any ducks. Now, there is a little dam here in the cattails. I don't know if that's just a natural formed dam. You can kind of see it right where the cattails, and there's an abrupt line where, detritus and other stuff has sort of pushed up against the cattails and formed a block. I don't see any sign of beavers chewing. Perhaps it could be a muskrat. I don't know if muskrats do that, build dams. And a lot of people have issues with rats. Muskrats are much different than the Norway rat, I think it is, that you see in cities, which are they scavengers? They feed on all the stuff we throw away. And the rats themselves, I don't think, are that dirty. It's more that they are a sign of lack of cleanliness. But muskrats are much bigger, and they live in water, and they nibble on the grass, I think, and that's about it. That's their story. They pose no threat to humans unless you try to catch one, in which case they might bite you. Throughput there. See some of the water. Looks like they've been doing some excavating over here. I don't know if that's for the sewer. They're doing a big sewer project. But I think we might actually be outside of the city. Out here, you can see some more flowing water. Such a pleasant sound and a pleasant sight. See some folks walking their dogs across the way. That's pretty scenic. The Paradise Valley in the background. It is a beautiful day. I mentioned Patreon, but also check us out on Instagram and Facebook and the Twitter. I don't post a lot there, but I do try and post some stuff that isn't going to be on the YouTube channel. So photos and that sort of thing, or maybe a little short thing. This looks like rock and quarry, like they've maybe it's from the road up there or behind us. There's a little meadowlark flying across. It's going to land right on that dirt over there. What's this doing? It's a meadowlark. Their voice carries so far, and the mature males will, perch on a stalk of a weed stalk, something that'll bear their weight, and they will just sing their hearts out. They've got a brilliant yellow breast with a black spot, really pretty, and that song carries. Man, I love it. Guess that rock and gravel is probably from road maintenance. Looks like they've done some clearing. As they plow these roads in the winter, sometimes gravel builds up and in the side. They need to clear it for drainage. Look at that view, guys. Absolutely stunning. Some more of this flowing water. You can see how the creek meanders. That slows the speed of the water. And when it rises, all those roots and willow stems slow the water and help purify it as well, help clean it. It's warming up. So you heard the meadowlark. There's one up on the hill about 50 meters away on an old fence post. Challenging all comers. Love those meadowlarks. Apologize, I'm walking into the wind. I'll try and fix that in post. Oh, something happened. Also, my audio recorder just died, the battery, so I'm gonna have to switch over temporarily to camera, which may not handle the wind as well. I'm going to restart the audio recorder. We'll see how long it lasts. We're down to 0 battery, so hi there. we're going to walk through the cemetery, and much like the one I did over in Bozeman, I'm not going to talk a lot in there, just out of respect. Yeah, that's about all. rather than go all the way around, I'm going to cut through here. There's a section of fence down. I want to thank you guys for joining us today on this Bozeman Trail Connector, or Bozeman Connector Trail. Hope you will share with your friends, subscribe, like, comment, all that fun stuff. Mainly come back next time. We'll see you again soon. Until then, keep on stepping.